And is our cast here? I'd love to welcome up Naomi Watts, Tim Roth, Octavia and Kelvin Jr. Well, while Kelvin's making his way here, I would just love to take a moment to have Marsha Stephanie Blake and Andre Banks stand up just for a moment. And thank them for their And I would also love everybody who worked on this movie. We have so much of our crew here with us to please stand up as well and just give them a hearty round of applause. Thank you guys so much for all your work. And there he is, making an entrance, Kelvin Jr. All right, get back to my thing.
So we do have some time for questions and answers, impressions, anything from the audience. Wow, you're getting a lot of time here. Yes, here in front, and I will repeat your question so that it goes to the back of me.
Just wanted to know what inspired you to write this story.
What inspired you to write this story?
It started off from an incredible play by my great friend J.C. Lee, and the play just got its hooks in me. I thought it was so powerful, and it was asking some really meaningful questions about just our culture and our world right now. And I thought we got the right incredible actors and the right crew together, we could make something that would be interesting and compelling. And so that's how it started, and I'm really thankful I was able to work with these amazing people.
Over here?
Yes.
I got this one. So it critiques two very prominent tropes in African American cinema, the exceptional Negro and the white savior. And I just want to talk about how you made that into the script and how much you made into that.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
No.
The film takes on two tropes in
White
African.
savior tropes and also the exceptional Negro trope, and I was just wondering how you crafted it through the script and what you did with it was amazing.
Thank you very much. That's kind of you to say. Look, that started with the play, and both of those are symbols. And this is partially a story about being forced to live your life on a symbolic level. It's a story about power and privilege, who determines who has to live on a symbolic level to be accepted. And when I saw those being explored in the play in a way that I just thought was fresh and unique, I felt, let's try and do this in a movie as well. And those stereotypes are ones that we're talking about a lot now as we speak about identity in our country and the ways people can be put in boxes, the ways people can be limited, the ways we all contribute to that unconsciously without even being aware. We have so many blind spots that sometimes we don't think about. And that can be well-intentioned, but also devastating and suffocating. And that's part of what this was about. There's some people in this country who have the full spectrum of humanity available to them, and there's some who don't. And this is a story about questioning how our blind spots and our perceptions contribute into suffocating other people, or dominating other people, or just hurting other people.
Here in front.
So like the scenes specifically between Miss Harriet and Luce were very, very intense, and like you could feel the tension in the air. So I was just wondering, like, how did you guys capture that so well? And like, 'cause I felt nervous whenever they were having their bouts.
Good actors help. Look, these are amazing performers. I'd love them to talk more about it. Just from my perspective, it was about giving them time and space to work, and us taking some time to talk and think about what we were trying to do. And then, letting these amazing people go at it.
No, I'll start you. Well, it's on the page, it's intense. And when you come in with intentions, and the character has intentions, that's your leaping off point. And Harriet always had an idea of who she thought Luce should be. And in her mind, he was revealing another aspect of himself. And so that made everything very heightened. with our encounters. And I think Kelvin and I just played with that during the scene work. What do you think, Kelvin?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember that was one of the scenes I auditioned with was the Syndic and well, basically all our interactions. I saw Harriet as someone I knew. I knew a teacher, I knew multiple teachers kind of like that. I went to a high school where I was the minority and I was constantly fighting to make myself seem like I was enough for them, like I belonged in that private school that I was afforded to be there on scholarship. And I also had black teachers in my life too that would also praise me for when I did succeed and when I did achieve this high level of success that they deemed as a worthy, I guess. And so I think I just kind of took all of that and put it into that relationship, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
Here's mine, all of you.
What do you want viewers to take away from this?
What do you want viewers to take away from this question?
As I said a little bit earlier, this is a story about questions. This is a story about the ways we look at each other. This is a story about privilege and power and the ways that we all contribute to creating the culture and the society we live in. It's about reflection. It's about taking a moment to think about each one of our blind spots. And when I first was drawn to the story, I had to stop and check myself and think about, well, why am I assuming this about this person or that about this person? And, you know, in that way, we all have these unconscious power that we're not always aware of. So it's about taking a moment to stop and reflect. And there's uncomfortable things that happen in this movie. There's things that are scary, but I think in pushing through the things that make us uncomfortable and scary, perhaps we start to find something that resembles the truth. And if we can do that, maybe it's a path forward. And, you know, there's stories that can be out there that are inspirational and great, but I just think it's so important as a culture to also have stories that, you know, aren't seeking just to pacify us, but to ask us to reflect on ourselves and challenge ourselves.
I noticed several times in the movie whenever Luce was running, he used like a very similar music style of just like these deeper rhythmic beats. And like particularly in moments of really high tension throughout the movie. And I was wondering if you had like a purpose behind that or some type of animalistic feeling that you wanted to create within the character.
There's two levels. It was exactly what you just described. It's about tension, it's about energy, it's about, you know, trying to find a way that's not, you know, there's music is so dangerous in a movie, and there's ways that it can over-indicate, and there's ways that it can try and do the work of the storytelling. But in this case, I wanted to really establish a mood and to feel some of the tension that's roiling underneath Luce, but without, you know, getting into like super didactic music. So that's one part of it. The other part is I just love cool music too. You know, we had two incredible composers on this movie, a team named Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow. And Ben's, those who know their work know their films that they sound like Annihilation, that's Octavia, and they just had a lot of really great ideas and ways to make music that contribute to a tone and an atmosphere and support the storytelling without stepping on top of it.
I was just wondering what made you think this movie should be shot on 35?
What made you think that this movie should be shot on 35?
I shot all my movies on 35, so that's just, it's the way I see the world, and that's what I always fight for when I'm making a movie. But specifically with this film, you know, we're in a day and age where most movies are shot digitally. This is a movie that takes place in suburban America. There's things about this now that have become incredibly familiar, and I wanted to make sure both with the music and the format that there was something that just felt a little bit more distinctive and off-center. And as crazy as it is, it's now off-center to shoot on film, when everybody's using Lexus and Reds, but it's a format I really believe in, and I think it just added a texture and a tension and a quality to what we were trying to do with this movie that we could have never achieved digitally. So, you know, for folks who are aspiring filmmakers here, please fight to shoot on film. There's still ways to do it.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, are we supposed to think of Luce as a victim or a villain or somewhere?
This is about perception. This is about what you choose. Because when you walk down the street any day and you see someone, all you have is what you see and whatever information, whatever interaction you get. Everybody contains multitudes. But this is a story that I said for me that what I loved about it was perception. You know, the most important thing I think about this story isn't necessarily the ending that's up on the screen. It's the ending that you as the audience supply with A, what you think about these characters, what you think about these ideas and issues, and B, what you choose to do when you leave here and how you want to lead your life. So that's a question for you, sir, because I think it's really important that we are all engaging with the world around us. And the last thing I wanted to do was make a story that was didactic or telling you what to think.
Good at that.
Yeah. Jump ahead.
That's what's good about it.
Yeah.
Conversation starts now.
Yes.
So this is kind of a question for all of you. All four of your characters have really, really complex stories and emotions, which is kind of hard to portray when it's four of you, not just two or one. What was the hardest part of conveying each of your characters like really complex emotions?
What was the hardest part of conveying the complexity of your characters for the cast?
Well, for Amy, being the mother, there was, there's a line in the film, I don't want to be just a saint or a monster, and there's actually, I think we all probably feel like that at times in this movie, where she will go to great lengths to protect her son, and even tell a lie, but she's also incredibly vulnerable and suspicious herself. She wants to investigate, but she also wants to keep the truth at bay because this is my son and I do not want any marks against him in his future because I want him to grow. And there's a level of, Octavia's always talked about she's the kingmaker, and in a way Amy is the same. She wants her son to just grow up and reach his absolute full potential, and she will do anything to allow that to happen. And she's by no means a perfect person. So it was great to take a role on that was complex, and she's all things. She's good for protecting her son, but she's making mistakes here and there as well.
I think for me, one of the first things that I do when I'm preparing for a role is to eliminate the things that I'm supposed to know, that I'm not supposed to know as a character, because in life, just because you read a script, you know what everybody else is doing, but in life, it doesn't work out that way. You just don't know what other people are thinking. And just working on that level of identifying the fact that she demanded excellence and not really understanding why he didn't understand the gift that she was giving him, and why the reaction from Luce was what it was. I think for me is just existing in that space and allowing myself to go, what would you do in this situation? And you can't really effectively play a character that you judge. So I had to be very clear about why Harriet does what she does. And I had to be okay with why Harriet does what she does. And I had to be okay with the result of what happens to Harriet for taking a stand. So that was all very difficult, but also very exciting.
I showed up. Sorry. My motivation is mine, so you don't get to know that. Otherwise, there's no conversation. Me and Naomi had played a couple before under sort of very different circumstances, but we didn't have. We knew each other, and our job, in whatever way, was parenting within the film, and we're both parents, so for good or for bad, we kind of had a feel for it. And then we had a new boy, and we drove him crazy. But we did shortcut. We talked about this. We don't have much time when you're doing independent film. You don't have much time. You don't have much money, and so we crowded him, and we kind of made a blind but strong attempt to become a family just for a certain amount of time before the wrecking ball came. And that was kind of our process when we were doing it. It was lots of fun, making him nervous, it was true.
For me, it was basically stripping everything that was mine, like Kelvin, away. one of the first calls Julius made to me. He was like, all right, you're gonna get a dialect, and you're not gonna sound like you're from the South. And basically,
Go ahead, tell me.
he said, and this is not offensive to me, I understand. He said, basically, we need to get all the black out of you. And I was like, all right, that's different. And so that was the hardest part, was this mask. And like, I read the book by Francis Fanon called Black Skin, White Mask. And I basically had to put on my version of that white mask to fit in this family. And it was such a challenge, but then that was my in a real way to really understand what it was like to go through that experience to leave your home and from, even though it was an unfortunate place to be in, and walk into this place that's so not yours. And yeah, that was the biggest.
He was having a lot of homework. He read Francis Fanon, he read Wretched of the Earth. He did a lot of homework, and I'm so proud of. He wrote the paper too. I mean, and then she graded it. She graded it. It was amazing. Props came to set, and they're like, yo, and like, don't worry, the actors got it covered. You don't need to bring anything. He was a real joy to work with this guy.
What grade do you think I get? For that praise.
It's amazing. This is such a beautiful, complex, and important film. But let's have another round of applause.